And so, unfortunately, the evening weaves its way towards its end. But we still have time for one more story. So would you welcome back to the stage the two people who, with the Shropshire, Wrecking and Telford young storytellers, are responsible for having organised all of this evening's festivities, from the venue and the publicity to the feast, to me, to the waistcoats, to the other tellers that they've got down here today. Put your hands together for Tall Tales, Short Stories, Joe and Jen.
Jack was the boy that sold buttermilk, and one day on his travels he came across a witch.
Jack, my lad, sell me some of your buttermilk.
No, I shall not.
If you don't, I'll put you in my sack.
I shall not a drop, and that is that.
And so the witch put Jack in the sack.
The sack on her back.
And set off for home.
Short while down the road, the witch said to Jack,
"Here, Jack, I'll be wanting some fat to fry you in."
"Well, then, missus, you'll have to put me down because I'm far too heavy to carry all the way to the shops."
"No, if I do that, you'll run away."
"Oh, no, I'll never."
And then the witch spotted some men who were cutting thorn trees by the side of the road.
And so she said to them,
"Here, will you watch this here sack whilst I go fetch some fat?"
"Well, missus, we'll watch this here sack while you go get some fat."
So the witch went off to get some fat, but as soon as she was gone,
"Psst, psst. If you let me out, I'll give you some buttermilk."
And so the men let Jack out, and he did give them some buttermilk.
"I know what. If you fill this here sack with the thorns you've been cutting, I can get off home."
And so the men filled up the sacks with the thorns they had been cutting, and when the witch came back,
She put the sack on her back.
and set off for home.
And a short while later down the road, the thorns had started coming through the sack and poking and prodding the witch in the back, and so she said,
"Here, Jack, you seem to have some pins in your pocket. I must remember to remove them before I fry you."
And well, witch carried on, and when she got back to her house and tipped the contents of the sack onto a clean white sheet and saw these thorns filling up her living room, she cried out,
"Well, I'll be jiggered! Jack, my lad, I'll catch you and I'll boil you, and that's a fact."
And the next day, Jack met the witch again.
"Jack, my lad, sell me some of your buttermilk."
"No, I shall not.
"If you don't, I'll put you in my sack."
I shall not a drop, and that is that."
And so the witch put Jack in the sack,
The sack on her back.
and set off for home.
And a short while down the road, she said to Jack,
"Here." She didn't say, "Oh my God."
"Well, I'm getting a bit bored here, you see."
"Here, Jack, I'll be wanting some salt to fry you with."
"Well then, missus, you'll have to put me down because I'm far too heavy to carry all the way to the shops."
"No, no, no, if I do that, you'll run away again."
"Oh no, I'll never."
And then the witch saw some men who were digging holes by the side of the road.
And so she said to them,
"Will you watch this here sack whilst I go fetch some salt?"
"We'll watch this here sack while you go get some salt, missus."
So the witch went off to fetch her salt, but as soon as she was gone,
"Psst, psst. If you let me out, I'll give you some buttermilk."
and so the men let Jack out, and he gave them some buttermilk.
"I'll tell you what, if you fill this here sack with the stones you've been digging up, I'll be able to go off home."
And the men filled up the sacks with the stones, and when the witch came back,
She put the sack on her back.
and set off for home.
And a short while later down the road, the stones had began to clang together, and the witch, she said,
"Here, Jack, your bones don't off crack."
but still she carried on back home. And when she got home and tipped the contents of the sack onto a clean white sheet and saw stones filling up her living room, she cried out,
"Well, I'll be jiggered! Jack, my lad, I'll catch you and I'll roast you, and that's a fact."
And the next day, Jack met that witch again.
Jack, my lad, sell us some of your buttermilk.
No, I shall not.
If you don't, I'll put you in my sack.
I shall not a drop, and that is that.
And so the witch put Jack in the sack
on the back.
and set off for home.
And this time she'd learned from her mistakes of the previous 2 days, and she went straight back home. And as she dropped the sack inside the door, she called to her cat.
Now you watch this here sack whilst I go fetch some sticks for our fire.
And so the cat watched the sack, and she went and fetched some sticks for the fire.
But as soon as she was gone,
Psst! Psst! If you let me out, I'll give you some buttermilk.
and so the cat let Jack out and he gave it some buttermilk.
And when he was out, he went into the witch's scullery and collected all of the china he could find and filled the sack up with it. And then he went up the flue
Down the roof.
and ran straight back home.
And when the witch came back, she lit the fire,
She picked up the sack
emptied it out onto a clean white sheet.
and broke the china every last bit.
Well, I'll be jiggered! Jack, my lad, keep yours nasty buttermilk and never come near me again, great knout.
And he never did go near her again, and the witch was left to live off vegetables the rest of her life,
And fry, boil, roast.
with salt or fat.
This story has ended.
And that is that.
The stories that we tell have a rich and a varied history. They come from sources oral and written. They have travelled, some of them, from far distant lands. They pass through many different versions, different iterations. They wear different clothes. And from what we have heard tonight, I feel, I'm sure that you feel, that on the tongues of these tellers, their future is just as rich and as varied.